do you think that they're good enough around Judge? If Judge were to miss 25 games, 30 games, 40 games.
No, we've seen it. They're a 500 team at best without Aaron Judge in the middle of that lineup.
I think they're better than that, significantly better around him than they were then.
Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew Sistat, glad unite. Philly and Y in the spotlight.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 101. We are previewing the New York Yankees 2026 season. Some would call it the 2025 season, if you look at the roster. But here we are, previewing it with, of course, Greg Disalvo joins, just like he joins me on just about every Yankee exclusive podcast we do. Greg, again, thanks for joining, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm looking forward to the season, the World Baseball Classic. Kind of, I feel like set the mood as a launching pad to get into baseball. We're less than a week away, so definitely excited for the season. Excited for it to be here.
Yeah, I am very excited for baseball. So, all right. The big question, the major question that we're going to talk about, I know we're going to disagree on because we disagreed on a lot of stuff with the Yankees, but we disagreed on the concept of last year's team going into the offseason, what they had to do. I was all about they don't have to make many major changes, and you thought they had to make a lot of major changes. So the main question we want to ask is, they ran it back. Is that okay? Like, is that good enough? Are the Yankees fooling themselves thinking that the last year's version that lost to the Blue Jays 3-1, that tied with the Blue Jays and lost a tiebreaker for the division was good enough to deserve, or they earned the right to come back and try to win the title in 2026, which I already know what your answer is going to be. So we'll get into
question.
It. We got to ask it. We'll debate it. All right. So real quickly, last year, I'm looking at my monitor, by the way, if anyone doesn't know. 94-68, they lost the AL East, like I just said, via tiebreaker to the Blue Jays. They lost to the same Blue Jays in the ALDS 3-1. I was at that final game. It was horrible. We move on. We'll go into additions. We'll go into subtractions. Not that there's a lot of additions or subtractions. We'll go into the projected lineup.
That'll be a quick segment. Quick segment on that.
We'll debate. Yeah. We'll talk about the bullpen. We'll talk about question marks, X factors, compare how they stack up with the AL East. We'll wrap up with some bold prediction, and we'll go through the Fangraphs odds, win division, World Series, all that stuff. You ready
Sounds
to get into
a plan to me. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk those fun key additions. Now, I say key additions. Could you argue there were 0 key additions to this roster?
No, what do you mean? They're getting a former Cy Young winner back. It's like a trade acquisition.
There you go, right away. This you don't count Cole as an addition. You don't buy that as like that's an addition from last year's team.
I mean, by definition, it's an addition from last year's team.
So you agree? So okay,
but it's different than bringing in outside help, I would say. And maybe that's a flawed way of thinking in a weird way, because I mean, a player's either on the team last year or he wasn't, and for all intents and purposes, he wasn't, right? So it is an addition, but when your biggest addition of the offseason is a guy that was supposed to be the missing piece 6 years ago, and then you refuse to tack on years to his contract after that, it's just, that doesn't fill me with a ton of optimism as the key missing piece this time around.
I have a lot of thoughts on Garrett Cole. We'll get into it later when we talk about starting pitching. But okay, what I'm going to consider key additions, at least so we have something to talk about here, Ryan Weathers, and that's it.
Yep.
Ryan Weathers, we'll get into him more later, but he goes into the season as SP4, SP5, potentially used in the bullpen. things go right. But he's a pitcher that throws really hard. He has arm talent, and the Yankees liked him, and the Yankees get him for not a whole lot, and they move on. I mean, that's their addition, right? Is there any other addition that's even somewhat like that? What's that reliever's name? Why am I blanking on him? The guy that might not even make the roster.
Cade Winquist, the Rule 5 guy?
Yes. Yeah. That's it.
I mean,
that's
if we're talking about Rule 5 additions as, the major offseason, then we got a real problem. And that's the situation we're in. So, but yeah, no, there isn't. I think those are literally they signed guys to like minor league deals and stuff, but those are legitimately the only outside of organization people on this team compared to what finished.
Yeah, no, a minor league deal for a shortstop who was good 8 years ago doesn't count.
Correct.
Right? So those are the additions. Ryan Weathers is.
And what's his name? The outfielder. What's his name? Damn it. Grichuk, Randall Grichuk. If he makes it.
Yes. But a minor league deal also.
Yes, but he's got out of the he's got the best chance of making at least the opening day roster because I'm sure we'll get into it.
That a little bit.
Jason Dominguez has got no chance.
I'm with you on that. Okay, so key subtractions: Devin Williams, Luke Weaver. Do you count those as key subtractions?
Devin Williams, not really.
Devin Williams has. What? Come on, dude. You don't actually think he's. You don't actually you don't think he's going to be good this year for the Mets. You don't think like Devin Williams is going to be a high-end reliever again.
I think that's a separate conversation because I don't think Devin Williams would ever. He was not going to work as a Yankee, and that
I don't agree with that. Okay,
I do. I mean, I think we had 162 game sample size of it plus playoffs, and it wasn't until he was a low leverage reliever in the perfect lane at the bottom of the lineup where he had any level of success. Luke Weaver.
Yeah, relievers have bad years and then bounce back. Anyway, okay,
absolutely, they're volatile. I think that was more mental than anything else. He never seemed like he was thrilled to be on the team.
So he's not a key subtraction to you. And Luke Weaver.
Yes and no, like I kind of the same bucket. I feel like kind of just run its course. The contract he got was insane for what he's done, and he was good. Then he got hurt and was never really good after he got hurt last year. So that wasn't one I expected to bring back. Wasn't one I was dying to bring back. So and for all the shit that I give the Yankees as an organization and Brian Cashman, and obviously I think deservedly so, they have shown more often than not an ability to build a bullpen with arms that they find and other people throw away and whatever. So 3 years ago Luke Weaver was a failed starter, and now we're talking about him being a key subtraction in the bullpen. So that's one of the areas where I have confidence in them as an organization, and Cashman and Blake to be able to put together a bullpen. And you have Bednar to kind of anchor that. You got Cruz, who was good last year. You hope that Duvall can be better. It's not deep on paper, but it is something that I have some more optimism on than other areas of the team.
There were no key subtractions, though.
Not really.
So, but if you had to choose, those are the two.
Yeah, I mean, they even brought fucking Paul Goldschmidt back, so I don't even know what subtractions there.
They brought back. Let's talk about who they brought back. They brought back Belly. They brought back Grisham. They brought back Tim Hill. They brought back Ahmad Rosario. They brought back Ryan Yarbrough. They brought back Paul Blackburn. They brought back Goldie. Did I miss anyone?
This is a sad state of affairs as a Yankee offseason. But no, I think that's
crazy.
I think that's
crazy that they brought all those guys back. And I'm not. You're not upset that they brought any of those guys back. You're more upset that they didn't bring in different guys. Like you don't have a problem with Goldie as a bench platoon guy, right?
In a vacuum, I don't have a problem with any of those. Well, the biggest problem I have is Grisham, because I have less than zero faith that he's going to be anything close to what he was last year. And I hope I'm wrong. in that regard. But I felt like, that $22 million was just a black hole in terms of what other options that you could have done with that money. So that's the one that I think, but that's mostly because of the contract more so than the player.
What do you think they would have done with that money?
Anything else?
Anything else? Grisham's not that bad. Even if he doesn't perform, say he performs 75% of what he did last year, he's still not.
I would have. I think there were other options that could have been a better way to go than stashing Jason Dominguez and Spencer Jones in minor leagues in favor of Trent Grisham for $22 million.
But you're not going to play Dominguez in center field, so he's not. That doesn't impact him, and you're not going to.
Cody Bellinger could play center field.
Yeah, but Bellinger shouldn't be an everyday center fielder, right?
Well, then we circle back to the conversation we've had every single time I come on here that Brian Cashman's terrible at building out a roster and allocating resources.
But if you go through all the teams in baseball, there's not many teams that have a good starting center fielder. Grisham's among the best.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
I think if you get Grisham, if you get an offensive player like he was last year, then sure. He was bad defensively last year, but you hope that was hamstring related than anything else. But I don't anticipate that being the Trent Grisham that we get, and I would expect him to be more of a middle of the pack outfielder than one of the better center fielder, than one of the better center fielders in the league. Looking back on the 2026 season.
Well, first of all, I'm with you. I didn't necessarily want them to offer, give him the qualifying offer. And I wasn't necessarily.
We did our off-season episode, and both of us, we did it kind of under the assumption that Grisham wasn't going to be back, either because they didn't. I think because we were assuming he wouldn't.
We thought he was in. We thought he was in decline.
Yeah, and I think shortly thereafter he accepted. I believe it was not that long.
It was
after.
Very shortly after.
But we just kind of that was like a side thing in our whole off-season discussion was, all right, Trent. He's going to decline it. Now what do you do? So that definitely threw a bit of a monkey wrench, as they say, whatever that saying means, in the offseason plans that we had discussed.
Yeah. Okay. But again, the point is, the issue isn't that they brought these guys back, because a lot of the Goldie as a platoon bench veteran guy is right-handed bat with all their lefties is not a bad option. Rosario is a nice right-handed hitter. As a bench guy, can start against lefties here and there and pinch hit, and that's fine, right? If you don't have an issue with Tim Hill and Ryan Yarbrough being part of the pitching staff, and Paul Blackburn is an innings eater in end of the last guy in the bullpen, that's fine.
Like I said, in a vacuum, there's not one of those as players that I look at and say that's a crazy move. How could you bring him back? But when it's part of what we just discussed of those are the only moves they made outside of Ryan Weathers, that becomes kind of gives you a different feeling about the level of the offseason versus okay, they did X, Y, and Z and also brought back Ahmad Rosario to be a bench player and Yarbrough to be a back of the rotation guy, swing guy. It's just it's a different vibe, but those are your big moves essentially.
Yes, when those are the main moves for sure. Okay, let's talk projected lineup position group. So, Grisham in center, Judge in right, Belly in left, Ben Rice at first, Stanton DH, Jazz at second, Wells at catcher, Jose Caballero to start at shortstop. We'll see what happens as the season goes on. He'll have some role. Maybe he'll still be the starting shortstop role at some. We'll see. And then obviously Ryan McMahon. I do want to talk. I do have a bold take about the shortstop position to tease it. Wait.
I'm all ears. But yeah, exactly what you said. There's not really any gray area with the 9. Now I'm positive that they are going to do a lot of tinkering, for lack of a better word, with righty lefty, and you're going to see 4 players of that 9 swapped out when there's a lefty on the mound versus a righty, whether that's just somebody DHing, etc. But I would expect that because of the bullpen guys the bench guys that they brought back, because the fact that a lot of them are, for all intents and purposes, right-handed hitting lefty specialists against lefty pitchers, that they're going to utilize that and have a lot of flexibility for better or worse with the lineup on a day-to-day basis.
Do you think they're going to Rosario and McMahon are going to be a platoon at their base?
I don't expect it to be a full-blown platoon. I would expect Rosario plays when there's like a good lefty on the mound, and at least early in the year, they try to give McMahon an opportunity against maybe some back of the rotation lefties to play and have consistent at bats.
It's not like McMahon's his career has been like a big righty lefty splits guy. He's been for the most part pretty similar. Last year he was especially bad against lefties, but bad in general.
Yeah,
at least offensively. So I think it's important that they give him the chance to try to be an everyday third baseman because his defense is so valuable and Rosario's defense is just so bad.
Agreed. I think, you're facing Garrett Crochet, you're facing Tariq Skubal, like that's when Rosario probably gets in against those type of guys. But when you're facing, again, a team's fourth or fifth starter who happens to be a lefty, I hope at least, again, early on in the season, they give McMahon an opportunity to potentially hit. And then, if we're over the summer and he's done nothing for 2-3 months against, even bad lefties, then maybe it's time to kind of revisit that approach.
One of the defenses for the Yankees front office not doing a ton this offseason. Do you know what I'm about to say?
I think so, but go on.
So at the deadline last year, they added several pieces that are now that are a huge or important pieces for 2026 as well. So with the positional group, right now with Volpe out, they have their starting shortstop Caballero, who adds a different dimension. He's
better,
an elite stolen base guy.
He's better at every aspect of being a baseball player.
Okay. And they have Ryan McMahon, who's an elite defensive third baseman. So right now, I look at their positional group compared to this time last year, and I can say, and do you agree with this, that they have a more well-balanced skill set. They're better defensively. They have more speed, a little bit more versatility, and they have better like righty, lefty, pinch hit, platoon options on the roster.
I 100% agree with all of that. I think it's hard to argue that, and we echoed that same sentiment, when we talked about the trade deadline last year and when it happened and the reason we liked a lot of these moves. So, yeah, I think if you're comparing the opening day roster of last year to what, for all intents and purposes, we know what the opening day roster is going to be this year with a couple of the last, the 25th and 26th man might be up for grabs. But if you're looking at opening day roster year over year, this team is better. I don't think that's arguable. It's like all the things you just said. There's more athleticism, more flexibility, better defensively. Yes, it's better than the opening day roster last year. For me, I don't really care. Like we saw,
you're not comparing it because you didn't like the opening day roster last year, so you don't want it to be better than that. The opening day roster last year was
dog shit. That's the reason why they had to be so aggressive at the deadline to bring in a bunch of these guys. But I don't think the fact that you brought in a bunch of these guys who then you watched play and watched still not be good enough later means that, those are all of our, like, you still needed to get better. Just because a year ago you were down here, then you got to here, like, you still need to try to get to here. And they just felt like, all right, yeah, we're good.
It's a valid argument, especially if you look what the Dodgers are doing, and the Dodgers are already up here, and then they just decide, let's go get Kyle Tucker, and let's get even now our World Series odds are 28%.
We won back-to-back World Series, and last year we spent a bunch of money on somebody who was supposed to be our closer who wasn't any good. Well, let's just go sign the best closer in baseball, the second best closer in baseball. That is every fan's dream that their team, that's the dream of every fan, that's the attitude of the team that they root for. And yes, Yankee fans call it spoiled, whatever, for, we're both 32-ish. For our entire lives, essentially, up until recently. That was kind of the Yankees' mantra. That was the way they did business, and it's not like that anymore, and it sucks, and they're always good, but I just feel like, and we've talked about this, like, you look at the core of this team, primarily Aaron Judge, and what are we waiting for? Like, look at this as a 3-year window and just go. I don't understand this idea. Like,
they don't look at it like that. They don't think... They don't think they're waiting. They think that they have a World Series roster.
Well, then they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're doing because it's just
Hopefully, you're proven wrong.
I really hope so, but I'd be shocked if I was
shocked if they won a World Series, or shocked if they won like 95 plus games.
I would be shocked if they won a World Series. I expect them to win 90 to 95 games like they do every year because they build a team that is good for 162 games and then isn't good because playoffs are a crapshoot and it's a short sample size and yada, yada, yada. All the bullshit that they want to spew and nonsense that they want to shove down their fans' throats every offseason and every trade deadline. And it's a flawed way of thinking, in my opinion. And when you have the best player in baseball, best offensive player in baseball in his prime, arguably the greatest right-handed hitter of all time, like, what the fuck are we waiting for?
Okay. Do you think that they're good enough around Judge if Judge were to miss 25 games, 30 games, 40 games?
No, we've seen it. They're a 500 team at best without Aaron Judge in the middle of that lineup.
We haven't seen it with this exact team, though.
Okay. I mean,
so nothing's changed for you. You don't think, like, you don't look at the lineup and say, okay, this is actually like a pretty league average lineup, maybe slightly above league average lineup without him. Pitching has the potential. We'll get into it. We can get into it next. But the pitching has the potential to be very good to great to elite. Like, you don't feel like they're probably like an 85 win team without him.
No, I don't.
Okay, I do.
I mean, I think if your best offensive player in that scenario is Cody Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm, Ben Rice, who's had 400 legitimate at-bats, I don't think that's an 85-win team lineup. I think maybe it is, because I was going to say maybe you're the Guardians at that point, but the Guardians have Jose Ramirez. So, yeah, maybe they could be but we're basically saying the same thing. I'm saying they're about a 500 team, 85 is slightly above, so we're kind of splitting hairs at that point, but again,
I think that there's more volatility without them. Like, I think like they could be an 85, 86 win team. I also think they could be like an 80 win team without them. So we are close.
Yeah,
I think there's more volatility. But that said, a couple of years ago when they lost him, they missed the playoffs. I think they're better. I think they're better than that, significantly better around him than they were then. I think they can. Last year, I don't think they could have handled a long absence, and he had that elbow thing, and he missed some time. Then he DH'd, but if he missed 50 games last year, I don't think they would have. I don't think they would have made the playoffs. I think this year they could.
I hear what you're saying. I still think they could. To your point, it would just certain guys would have to get hot at the right time. Like Jazz Chisholm would have to go on a hot streak for 2-3 weeks during that stretch and kind of live up to his the peaks that he shows, because he is very streaky naturally. So you just hope that he's on a hot streak at that point. And Stanton, he can carry a lineup for a few weeks at a time if he's healthy. So if everything lined up, I do think that you're right that they could survive it, but God damn it, let's knock on wood that we don't have to see that.
That would be horrible. I really don't hope we don't see that. That'd be horrible. Also, just from an everyday standpoint as a fan, to be able to watch the guy is amazing. But other than just the impact it would have on the Yankees. Anyway, okay. Let's talk anything about the positional group before we move on to pitching that stands out to you, that either worries you, concerns you.
My biggest concern about the position group is, honestly, it's two things. It's catcher, which we talked about in the offseason episode. I didn't think that you could go into the season with Austin Wells as your starting catcher. Whatever. The bigger thing, honestly, is shortstop. And maybe but I fully expect that basically no matter what Caballero does, to an extent. Now, if he goes out there and is unbelievable, there's a level, right, where they can't sit there and with a straight face tell their fans that they're going to start Anthony Volpe and he's our starting shortstop when he comes back. But if Caballero is an average player, I fully expect that Anthony Volpe is going to get handed his starting job on a silver.
Correct. Agreed.
Which is a problem because Anthony Volpe is a below-average player, a significantly below-average player.
So this gets you mad now. It's going to get you even more mad when it actually happens.
oh, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Because we've seen a big enough sample size of Anthony Volpe, who is one of, if not the worst.
I agree.
He is the worst offensive player in baseball, or bottom 5 offensive player in baseball during the time that he's been up. And last year, he was a horrific defender. So what am I missing here? If you can get an average shortstop, Caballero, who's got elite speed, has played good defense, like, if you can just get an average shortstop, he's a significant upgrade versus a significantly below average shortstop. It doesn't seem that complicated.
Okay. Let's talk about this. Like I said, I have a bold take about the shortstop, but I'm not gonna step on that take yet.
All right.
I still can talk about it though. If Caballero is going off, let's just say he's revamped his swing in the off season, so now he's gonna try to hit for more power, which could be a bad thing. But let's just say it's a good thing. Let's just say Volpe is ready to go. When is he? May?
I was just going to ask. I don't even know how long he's supposed to be out. Maybe like 4 to 6 weeks, kind of after the season started. There hasn't been a definitive timeline, but I'm guessing a month. Let's just
say May 1st, just for the sake of this conversation.
Sure,
it's going to be around there. So let's just say May 1st. Caballero has. So they're about 25 games into the season, something like that.
Yeah.
Caballero has 8 home runs. He is in the top 10 in Major League Baseball in home runs. He has a 900 OPS. Anthony Volpe is the starting shortstop the day of May 1st. And here's why. They'll just put Caballero in a different position. Oh, they're facing a lefty? He's playing third. Oh, he's DHing this day. Oh, he's in right field. They're going to get him in there. But Volpe's going to be the starting shortstop.
Because there's no
because they have an obsession with Volpe.
Oh my god!
I mean,
I don't understand why they have. Why is he the only prospect they have an obsession with?
I'm not defending this, by the way. They love Volpe. Maybe there's something about they talk about his character, his work ethic. Maybe there's something there that they really truly believe in him. And look, we don't believe in him anymore. You haven't believed in him in a long time. I'm out on him too, but. Maybe they're right. Maybe they are right.
It's again, it's just a theme. It's like the constant arrogance. We're smarter than everybody. You don't know what you're talking about. Like whether they're talking to fans or whether they're talking about other people in baseball.
They are smarter than almost every fan, though. To be
fair. But I think maybe not. The way that they try to then message that to people is just arrogant and demeaning in how how they try to. And I hate the term gaslight, but it's like if you had to define it,
I hate that term too, dude. I hate that term.
It's awful, but I don't know what the alternative is, and it's become so popular. That's like if you wanted to see the definition of gaslighting somebody, watch a Yankee fucking press conference talking about it.
Don't give in to society. Don't be gaslighting and talking vibes. No, we don't do that here.
But anyway, so with Volpe, it's just sadly, I think you're right. Sadly, I think you're right that it would take Caballero going on an Aaron Judge 30-game sample for there to even be a debate.
No. Yes.
And then to what you were saying, like the sacrifice there would be, oh well, then Caballero's going to play, over McMahon at third base, for what? Because Volpe doesn't give you anything good, defensively or offensively. So I don't understand the benefit.
No, well, the benefit we know, from our perspective. As people who look at what he's done in his career and say this is who he is, there's no benefit. It doesn't make sense. But from the perspective of the Yankees that they believe he's going to develop, he's going to have like a Dansby Swanson type development where was terrible for his first 3 years and then gets really good.
And now he's kind of bad again. So what the fuck are we talking about?
I know. At least he's a good defense. At least he's good defensively.
Swanson is what we're hoping for. Like, my God.
It's not like some amazing level that's worth going through all these horrible seasons for.
Yeah.
But anyway,
if you told me he was going to be Trey Turner, then we could have a conversation. But if now we're talking his upside is Dansby Swanson, just fucking cut the guy at that point.
I mean, okay, I think you're a little too low on Swanson, but we don't need to debate that. So okay,
send him to AAA like they're going to do with all their other prospects, and see if you can figure out how to hit a baseball down in AAA.
They're gonna start Dominguez in AAA for sure. Spencer Jones was already sent down, right? So they're both down.
And then Legrand got sent down. Elmer Rodriguez got sent down, which I expected with those guys because they don't necessarily need them. I expect them to play roles as we get later. We talked about the bullpen.
We're going to get into pitching in a second. So Randall Grichuk is probably going to be that last guy on the bench, right?
Yep.
Because you got JP Escar as the backup catcher, Rosario, Goldie.
They have all this flexibility, but they don't have a righty backup catcher.
Yeah,
unless the thought is against lefties, Ben Rice catches and Paul Goldschmidt then plays first.
They might do some of that.
Then okay, maybe if, they want to get Ben Rice at bats against lefties, I might be able to get on board with that. But you should still why is JC Escara this guy that you can't move off of? Great story, whatever, but just go get a righty hitter. Is it that hard?
Move off of him.
To get a righty backup catcher?
You know what it is, dude? I don't know if you knew this. So Volpe from high school, from a few years ago in the minors, used to take batting practice with Escara, and they became really close friends, and they lived together. They used to eat dinner together. They actually made salads together on a regular basis. So Volpe told the Yankees to keep Escara around. So the Yankees said, "Oh, okay, for Volpe, yeah."
Escara is the key to unlocking Volpe to become a lesser Dansby Swanson. So we got to keep him on the roster.
It's like when the Yankees brought in Doug Mankiewicz for A-Rod.
There we go.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. The difference was A-Rod was an MVP. Not somebody who shouldn't be on the team.
Someone's going to listen to that and actually believe that story, by the way. So there you go.
Honestly, because it makes more sense than what we've seen with Volpe already. So.
All right, let's talk starting pitching. I'm going to give a list of names, the rotation going into the season, and then the potential guys coming back. Max Fried, Cam Schlittler, Will Warren, Ryan Weathers, Luis Gil. Those are the 5. Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, and Clark Schmidt all on their way back, presumably.
Is Clark Schmidt supposed to make it back this year, or just late in the season?
Yeah.
Is it, he's on a much different timeline.
He's late July or early August.
Okay, so I thought late summer, and then whereas Rodon and Cole are expected more in the springtime.
Cole could probably come back by the second week of the season. They're just not going to push him. He's already made a start in.
He pitched 1 inning.
Yeah, but still, he's being built up. He's healthy.
I don't think they're going to go from him pitching 1 inning to then built up in 2 weeks to then start. But whatever. I think
maybe I'm exaggerating by second week.
He could be back May 1st for Volpe. I think that's
I think. Well, that's also. So if they put him on the 60-day IL, right, to open up roster spots, I believe that's May.
Is that 60 days from the start of the season, or is that 60 days from the day the roster is?
No, what's 60 days from the start of the 60 days from the roster the start of the season from opening day.
Okay, so that's the end of May.
That's May
26th.
May. Yeah.
Yeah, May 20. That's May 26th is the 60-day. I think Rodon is going on the 60-day. He seems further away than Cole.
Maybe it doesn't work that way. How does the
unless it's from the day they put him on, but I don't think there is really an IL in the spring training, so I'm not actually sure. But anyway, while you look that up, so yeah, I mean that rotation. You talked about the starting 5. You got to throw in Blackburn and Yarborough into that to start the season because I would expect them to get some starts, whatever that means. I don't think they're going to do a 6 or 7 man rotation by any means, but I would expect Blackburn and Yarborough to get some starts in the first couple of months. And I think a lot of that could come down to how's Gil pitching.
It's 60 days from opening day. It is 60 days.
Yeah, so that's the last week of May, and I think that's far out. But I think that's what's going to happen with Rodon.
It might happen. Maybe it won't happen with Cole. All right.
But yeah, I think Gil is the one I have least confidence in right now, which is sad because 2 years ago he was so good.
No, I agree with that completely.
And which raises the question, what's he still doing on the team? But separate conversation. So yeah, and then whether
you can't love everyone on the roster, dude.
I don't want to love everybody on the roster. I want to use assets while they have value to trade and make the roster better.
Yeah, but dude, Luis Heel. Everyone knew Luis Heel's run 2 years ago was gimmicky. Like,
I don't buy that for a second.
The guy's never had control in his career, and all of a sudden he wasn't walking guys for 2 months, and then went right back into walking guys.
See, I don't believe. So you're telling me that he had no value around Major League Baseball?
I'm not telling you he had no value. I'm sure teams would have liked him, but they wouldn't have given. The Yankees wouldn't have gotten a great return that would have improved the need.
A year ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was, call it 2 years ago. If you had traded Luis Heel coming off of that season and Jace Dominguez before he had ever played a major league inning, you couldn't have gotten a really high impact return for that.
You could have. I agree.
To now have Jason Dominguez stashed in the minors, so it's just
Dominguez had that injury at the time. By the way, though.
Okay, he was still a top 50 prospect in baseball, or top 25 prospect in baseball.
Yeah,
who was a year away from the major leagues. That a team that doesn't spend money would be happy to take a very young, controllable outfielder with high upside and a young, controllable starting pitcher with high upside and trade you a established major leaguer. It happens all the time.
It's fair. I agree. Okay. I back to your point though. I agree that Luis Heel is probably the weakest link in that 5-man rotation. I feel pretty good about
a lot of that comes down to me just assuming that the fact that they went out and targeted Weathers and get him with Matt Blake and he's got a good arm. Like, I'm just kind of assuming that that's going to work. Like, that could fucking blow up as well. So
let's talk about this. Even if it does blow up, 5 guys. Even if it does blow up, right? Even if it does, and there's so much downside and there's so much risk. Yet the upside here with this rotation is so high. It's kind of crazy how this could go so many different ways. It can go.
I agree with
vastly up and down, and it can go somewhere in between, and we have no idea because the potential of Max Fried, Garrett Cole, Schlittler, Rodon, even let's not even count Schmidt. Those 4, that's a crazy four guys.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. That is the one kind of saving grace for me when again, season hasn't started yet. Spoiled Yankee fan. I'm going to talk about the playoffs, but when you think ahead to a potential playoff series and what gives them an opportunity to get hot for a month, 6 weeks, and actually run the table and win a World Series, is that if you have Cole, Fried, Rodon, Schlittler as your 4 starters in a playoff series, that can carry you to a World Series if they're all pitching well, and you get timely hitting. So that is the one piece that you can
move guys like Weathers, Warren. If Schmidt's healthy, you can move those guys to the bullpen.
Exactly.
That's huge.
Yeah, I think by the end of the season, they could have an elite, pitching staff, top to bottom. Then the young guys, coming into the bullpen. So that is reason for optimism for sure.
Let's talk about it if it went the complete other way. Let's go. Warren's coming off career high in innings. He gets hurt. He's just not good. He's so good anyway, but he's solid. Let's say he just gets hurt or just completely falls apart. Luis Heel just completely falls apart. No control. Maybe he gets hurt. Schlittler struggles in his first full year. The American League specifically starts to figure him out a little bit more. So let's just say he's not dominant. He's just okay. Max Fried coming off a career high in innings. He takes a step back. He's still great, but he's not a top 5 starter in the American League. Instead, he's like a top 20.
Mm-hmm.
Cole coming back has a setback. Rodon coming back has a couple setbacks. He's gone for most of the year. He comes back. He's just terrible.
We've seen it.
Clark Schmidt never makes it back. He has a setback
now
in July.
Going every worst case scenario.
Hey, I'm just. Let's just say the worst case. Then this rotation's. They're fine. They're still fine.
Terrible.
But
And if that scenario that you just outlined happens, where all of those things happen, they're terrible.
Well, if Fried is still a top 20 starter and Schlittler's okay and they still have Weathers, and I don't know. I think they're probably fine.
I think in that scenario, situation. It's definitely a terrible situation. I think in the scenario that you laid out, that rotation is terrible. I think that what is more likely and what I'm expecting is that one or two of those things that you just outlined are going to happen. And then that I think they can withstand, depending on what it is exactly.
Both the high end and low end that I mapped out are unlikely to happen.
Yes, correct.
It's going to be somewhere in between, hopefully somewhere closer to the better scenario, the best case scenario.
If that's 0 and 100, you hope that it's 60 to 70 instead of 30 to 40. Yeah.
So let's just say this. Let's talk about Garrett Cole for a second. He's going to his age 36 season.
Mm-hmm.
Coming off Tommy John.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we so confident and comfortable that he's going to come back and actually be like close to Garrett Cole? Because I'm not. I'm not. I think people are talking about it. Like most Yankee fans I talk to, most things I read and things I hear, like are, oh yeah, they're going to get Garrett Cole back. They're going to have a top 5 pitcher in baseball. What? I don't think so.
Now, if everything goes great, I think like by the end of the year, you might be able to see that. But I expect for 2-3 months, like he's going to have some good starts, have some awful starts, have a great start, mix it. Like you tend to see
we're talking about
who come back from Tommy John, like they lose their control. They might not throw as hard. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But yeah, I think when you factor Tommy John, you factor 14 months off or whatever it's going to be at that point. He's 36. He's thrown a shit ton of innings in his career. Like, I don't expect him to come back and day 1, day 2, day 3 to be Garrett Cole again that we've seen. You would hope that by the end of the season, he could potentially get back to, 85, 90% of that. But I think that's best case scenario. I would be shocked if that happens immediately.
I agree. I'm expecting him to be like a low 4, mid 4 ERA guy for a couple of months. I think we're going to get some good starts. You're going to be like, wow. That's vintage Cole, and then you're gonna get some starts where it's like he had no command.
Yeah,
he was not spitting it well. Like I think it's gonna be a lot of up and down with him.
I wholeheartedly agree.
For that. I'm mentally prepared for that. As long as he's right for the playoffs.
Yeah,
he has to be right for the playoffs. That's the important.
Exactly. The stretch. You know what? Let's talk like normal fans instead of spoiled Yankee fans. The stretch run. That way, say we're competing for a playoff spot at the end of the season, and we're not just assuming that they're going to make the playoffs because they might be the 4th best team in this division. And I know we're going to get it. We can get into that. Maybe
we're going to get into that. I completely disagree with that. I think that's.
I said might be. Okay, I said might be.
Okay. All right, might be. They might. All right, Rodon. What do you think? I know you've never been a Rodon guy, but last year he was kind of sort of won you over. You at least acknowledge like this guy had a great season. He came up big in a lot of big spots in the regular season. And even after he melted down against the Blue Jays, you find out that, he had that injury, he pitched through it. You probably give him some credit for that, right?
No. I don't give players credit for playing through injury in any sport.
Okay.
If you're on the field, perform. Okay. If you are unable to perform because you're injured, then don't be on the field.
And would you? Okay. All right. Whatever. I kind of agree with that. I figured you were more of a yeah. Play through it. Yeah. This is for your team. This is October.
No. Nope.
No. Okay.
If you're on the field, perform. If you can't perform because you're injured, and then we're going to hear about it after the fact of that's why I didn't perform, then don't try.
All right. Back to my point, though. So that said, I don't think something about like him not having a normal spring training, not having a normal off season. I'm concerned about how he's going to be when he comes back.
I'm concerned he's going to come in fat.
Why?
And the injury has nothing to do with cardio or working out necessarily, but his first year in as a Yankee, he got a fat contract, came into camp out of shape, and then was hurt, and then was awful. And you hope that doesn't happen. And last year he seemingly had kind of a wake up call, and that was one of the things. But I don't feel great about what type of Rodon we're getting. Again, at least early on. Hopefully he comes back. He can kind of work his way into it. By the stretch run, he can, be a solid contributor. But I'm not sitting here, penciling Carlos Rodon in for a top end of the rotation starter.
So overall thoughts on the starting rotation?
I think it has tremendously high upside, and there's also a lot of risk there.
I agree. That's why I wanted them to add some sort of very reliable, number 3 type starter.
Yeah, we talked about it. We talked about Michael King. We talked about a bunch of names in the offseason, and Paul Blackburn and Ryan Yarbrough were enough.
Ryan Weathers.
Oh, and Ryan Weathers, yeah.
Let's talk bullpen. The bullpen was remade at the deadline last year. All right, so Bednar, Doval, then you have Cruz and Hill. It's kind of light. It's kind of light in terms of high leverage guys. In terms of high leverage guys that there's precedent there to be trusted. Tim Hill's earned, I think, the respect lefty versus lefty. Fernando Cruz is good. I mean, right, he's going to go through stretches where he's dominant, and then he's going to go through stretches where he struggles and gives up a lot of homers and walks guys. Bednar, we're still not that far removed from him being so bad he was sent down to the minors, but I think after last year, how he pitched all season, but really with the Yankees, he looked pretty good in the WBC, if you care about that. And I feel pretty good about Bednar. And then Doval, I have no idea about. I feel like Doval could be an elite reliever this year. He could be useless.
Yeah, no, I agree with basically everything that you just said.
It's not deep enough. This is the part of the roster that it's we're banking on the Yankees outside of last year, their history, the Cashman regime, of finding arms, of taking guys that have struggled and making them into high-end relievers. We've seen it with a lot of guys. So we're kind of banking on that. They do that with one or two relievers. And guys we're not expecting to be high-end, high-leverage relievers all of a sudden are. Right? Because otherwise it's not looking good.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. There's not a ton of guys that you look at going into the season and say, I trust him implicitly in a high-leverage situation. I think, again, kind of piggybacking on the starting pitching, later on in the year, I expect that the thought has to be, okay, we've got a bunch of talented young arms, whether that's Legrande, whether that's Elmer Rodriguez, Weathers, Heel is probably too wild to ever go in the bullpen, but throw him in there. Yarbrough, there's a bunch of arms that all can't start in theory that they're going to then go into the bullpen, and that's going to kind of notch everybody into maybe a more comfortable role. And give you options. So I guess that has to be the theory, because looking at it right now, it's definitely thin, to your point. But similar to the rotation, and again, on the same vein there, I do think there's high upside with the bullpen, but you're banking on a lot of things you haven't really seen before going well. Jake Bird, talk about the trade deadline overhaul of the roster last year. I would expect him to be on the opening day roster, and maybe they figured something out with him in the minors and in an off season, and he can be a solid contributor. I don't expect him to be, an eighth inning guy or anything like that, but it's a lot of question marks for sure. And it's not super, super deep, but again, because of the depth of the just overall arm talent they have, that's either in the majors or just on the cusp, I do think that they have kind of the ammunition to have a good bullpen later on in the year. It just doesn't seem like it's going to start that way.
No, I agree. I think it's light, for sure, and the sentiment is we'll piece it together, and we have the potential late in the season to add guys from the rotation, add guys from the minors,
and trades. Maybe relievers are the things that you can always trade for relievers, because one of the benefits of trading for relievers is that what we talked about earlier, and we've talked about this a bunch, the fact that year to year relief pitching can be so volatile. like you have an opportunity to say, okay, this guy's having a good year, or at least a good few months, whatever, and you can acquire that person mid-season to then hopefully continue that good performance for the remainder of the year, and then what happens after that, who knows? But so that generally is one of the easier things to address mid-season than a shortstop or a catcher or something like that.
I agree. Okay, let's talk. The biggest question mark that I have, and I think that most Yankee fans have, is look, they ran it back, but are they better than last year? What do you think? Are they? Is this team?
No,
we talked about compared to the opening day. Are they better than they were at the end of the season when they lost to the Blue Jays, or when they went going into the playoffs? No, you don't think so?
No.
You don't think Garrett Cole potentially makes them better?
No.
Really? Wow.
I don't. Okay. Are we talking like? Do we think that the end of the season team last year compared to the end of the season team this year, or do we saying the end of the season team to the opening day team?
End of the season team to the team we know now, because we don't know what the team's going to be like at the end of the season, like after the deadline.
Okay, so then no, I don't think that they're better, maybe marginally, but barely, if any, than they were last year.
I think they're better. Let me explain why. One, I think it's because it's more of like the potential, the ceiling of Garrett Cole being back. Even though I don't have so much confidence in him.
But we just talked about that. That's not going to happen for a few months.
No, I agree. It's only, but still, having a guy that has the potential to be great is just having that potential, because we talked about we don't expect him to be. We could be wrong. There's the potential that we could be wrong. This is Garrett Cole.
We had Max Fried, who was a top 5 pitcher last year, at least in the American League. So if Garrett Cole becomes that, and then Max Fried becomes Rodon, like it's the same team. It's just different names performing at the same level.
But there's also a very likely scenario where Max Fried is very similar to what he was last year. And now you have two, top of the line guys. Anyway, it's a little deeper than this. Ben Rice is actually better than how he performed last year, and he had a really good season. He's actually better.
Okay.
You're not buying that, are you?
No.
Do you care about xWOBA at all? Expected weighted on base average?
It is a data point for sure.
Do you know where he ranks? Do you know where he ranked last year in expected WOBA, which is based on quality of contact percentage, all that stuff?
My guess is he was top 5 in baseball.
All right, not that high. He was 8th.
Okay, I was gonna say top 10, but I want to get a little.
Do you know the guys that were? Let me list. Can you guess the players that are?
Aaron Judge, Juan Soto,
not in
Shohei
order.
Ohtani.
Yes.
Bobby Witt, maybe. Jordan Alvarez.
No.
Did he have a big enough sample size?
Jordan, not last year, no, but usually he's
Cal
up there.
Raleigh. Cal
Raleigh's not up there.
No. Caminero?
No. Think about I'll just tell you. Okay.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Springer, who had this incredible season.
Jesus, yeah.
Corey Seager, who's been an elite hitter for a long time. Kyle Schwarber.
They were flirting with him this offseason. Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm sure
that's my wet dream.
Kyle Schwarber, right? Okay. Acuna.
Wow.
Ben Rice. Ketel Marte. Vlad Guerrero.
It's great company.
The point isn't that Ben Rice is going to be among this level of hitters, but the point is that that's an incredible group of hitters that are pretty much the best hitters in baseball, excluding a few guys here and there. But it's one stat, it's one metric, it's one predictive metric, but Ben Rice has a ton of potential. I think the chance of Ben Rice being better than he was last year is very high. I also think that the fact that they're not doing this, they had to get past this, Goldie thing. Goldie is not taking many at-bats away from Ben Rice. He'll start against lefties. Ben Rice might play. He might not. But Ben Rice is going to play against a lot of lefties. I'm not saying he's going to play every game against lefties. They're going to give him the chance. So I think that's one major thing. The other thing is, when I look at this roster and I say, well, Ryan McMahon, he was terrible offensively with the Yankees last year. If you look at his career, he's not a great hitter, but he's better than that.
He's better than he
give
should.
Give him a full off season, a full spring training. Let the Yankees work with him. I don't know. Maybe Taylor Spring more to Yankee Stadium. Maybe hits 25 to 28 homers. I look at this, and then the last thing also is the rotation with a full year of Cam Schlittler, the rotation with it's more of just the potential of, I know you already mentioned Cole, but the potential of Fried, Cole, Schlittler, and Rodon, to me, that potential makes them their ceiling higher than last year's team.
Nail on the head. I was going to say, I would agree with you if your argument was that the team now, compared to the team that ended the season, has a higher ceiling. I don't agree that it's better.
Okay, fair enough. All right, what's next? X factors. I have one main X factor. I don't know if you have an X factor.
I mean, you just said one of them is Ben Rice. You know, what kind of jump, if any, can he make? Can he be a legitimate number 2 to Aaron Judge? I think that's a big X factor. I think Jazz is an X factor because his ceiling is so fucking high and he's playing for a contract. Would it totally shock you if he went 40-40 this year?
Didn't he say he wants to do that?
He said 50-50 because he said Otani.
That would shock.
That would shock me. Like, I would be, listen, it would be, it's unlikely. I'm talking 40-40. It's unlikely, but it wouldn't be like, oh my God, how the hell did this happen? Like, absolutely capable of that. He's got that high of a ceiling. He's that talented.
I don't think 40-40 is crazy if he stays healthy.
So
now,
I think he's an X factor in terms of
OBP, but
yeah, I mean he'll hit 230 and but yeah. So I think he's an X factor in terms of
paths, but...
and I guess the other one is like Grisham, and I'll say him as an X factor just because I think there's so much variance with like what he is. Is he gonna replicate what he was last year? Is he gonna go back to what he was his entire career before that, or is he most likely? Yeah, or is he most likely going to fall somewhere in the middle and be a slightly above average hitter, or an average hitter and a good I think those are the biggest. Those three guys are the biggest X factors offensively, just because I think there's a lot of variance in terms of like their ceilings, and their floors.
I agree. Those are two good ones. I have one for you that's a little bit different than a player, and I don't know if you're going to find this to be an X factor. All right. The Yankees' handling of decisions, their passiveness compared to their active aggressiveness into making decisions, their conviction to make decisions. How long do they wait to pull the plug on something that's not working? So Boone has been on the record saying that the bullpen, the thing he regrets is not when they were blowing games first couple months of the season.
When Devin Williams was blowing games.
He regretted not going to the younger guys and trusting the younger guys and sticking with the more proven guys. He regretted that. So, how do they handle the bullpen? How long of a leash do they give Doval, Cruz, Bednar? How long? Obviously, we're going to talk about Volpe. That's the big one.
But see, that logic can't apply to Anthony Volpe, superstar Anthony Volpe.
Yeah, so
that's only for the bullpen.
Exactly. So, Grisham. If Grisham is bad, like, are they going to pull the plug and say no? Belly's playing center.
No, I don't. I'd be very surprised if they do it quickly because they seem hell bent on proving that they're the smartest person in the room every chance they get.
So, what if they did make these decisions this year? how huge would that be for the regular season? Like it would probably earn them another 3 or 4 wins. If they made decisions like that last year, they probably would have won 96, 97 games and won the division.
True.
So I think that's a big one. Winning division sets you up for the playoffs. So I think that's a big one. That's going to lead me into something else I have in a little bit. But all right, how about where they stack up in the AL East? You mentioned that they may be the 4th best team in the division earlier. Let's talk about this, dude. What do you think? How they stack up in the AL East specifically?
I think realistically, they are the 2nd best team in the AL East. I think the Blue Jays. Okay. I just watched a season where we couldn't beat the Blue Jays. They beat us in 4 games in the playoffs, and what leads me to believe that and the Yankees brought back the same team, and the Blue Jays went out and got Dylan Cease, and went out and got, he might be awful, but the Japanese guy went out and got the pitcher from Korean League.
Akamoto.
Like, they lost Bo Bichette, who barely played for them last year.
So that's not true. Bo played almost the whole season. He just missed like the last month or something.
Didn't play at the end. But I mean, I don't.
Hey, do you want me to answer your question? Can I? Was that a question to be answered?
Sure.
They had a lot of players last year that had what I would call
Trent Grisham year.
Fluky Trent Grisham peak seasons.
Okay.
George Springer at 36.
Fair.
I don't want to make this a Blue Jays podcast. I can go up and down that lineup.
Barger. Addison Barger,
even Kirk. Like Kirk's had years where he's borderline, like not even a major league starter.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And then so there's a lot of volatility there. I think there's a lot of negative regression for the Blue Jays. Akamoto is a question mark. Dylan Cease, yeah, great signing, but you know what? Dylan Cease has his issues. Like Dylan Cease has serious control problems. Dylan Cease,
they got Shane Bieber. I like Dylan Cease. They got Shane Bieber last year. They got Savage for a full season. A lot of the same conversations we're having about the Yankees.
Savage is hurt. Savage is hurt, by the way. He's starting the season on the IL.
If somebody was doing the same podcast in Toronto, then they could be having a lot of the same conversations that we're having about the Blue Jays, about the Blue Jays to the Yankees. I think there are parallels.
Yeah, and it's not acting they had some amazing. They didn't have some amazing off season, dude. They went out. They were trying to get Kyle Tucker. They didn't get him.
Yeah,
they didn't have some amazing off season.
No, you're right.
They got Cease and they got Akamoto, and they're a good team. I'm not saying that they're a bad team. I don't look at them and say, "Oh, they're the best team in the division." I think the Yankees are. Anyway,
I'm deferring to them until I'm proven otherwise, because we just
give the respect to the team that just did it last year.
Yeah, and the Yankees couldn't beat them. The Yankees could not beat them.
The Yankees could not beat them last year for sure. Let me just say one more thing about the Blue Jays, because I think it's really important, and it's kind of goes in with what I was saying about like the players that have peak seasons and the volatility of that. I kind of moved slightly onto your side about how the Yankees approach is a problem throughout their lineup. Their hit for power, swing as hard as you can approach for the postseason. But for the regular season, it works. And when your approach is let's make a lot of contact and how to have a high batting average in balls in play, and one year you hit for over 300 of a BABIP, the next year you're probably going to hit 260 or something. Like I think that approach is very volatile year to year. And I think that also in itself, the concept, that philosophy, I think will lead to regression. Not that their offense was amazing last year throughout the regular season, by the way, but I think they will regress for that just based on that philosophy as well.
I think it's a fair point. Potentially. I don't know. Maybe BABIP is a skill more so than luck. I guess we'll find out.
I think it's both.
So. Red Sox, do we want to talk about the Red Sox and the Orioles too? Because I think they both have gotten better.
I'll tell you, I think the Red Sox are the second best team in the division. I think the Red Sox are really good.
Me too.
I think the Red Sox are really good. So now the Red Sox kind of trying to be like the Blue Jays were last year. The Red Sox don't have a ton of power.
True. They lost a little bit of power they did have in Bregman. They lost. They signed they traded for Sanchez, the outfielder from the Marlins, right? Not that he's some world beater, but he's got some power. They got Sonny Gray. They got what's the pitcher they signed? The lefty from Philly.
They got Ranger Suarez. That's what you're talking about.
So yeah, I think that Roman Anthony's a fucking stud.
I think Duran could have a much better
Duran
season,
very good.
Nice bounce back season.
Yeah, so
I like their team. They got Caleb Durbin, who's going to be the starting third baseman. To start the season. Yeah. They have. I mean, they also got Wilson Contreras.
That's the other one. Yep, they traded for him
to be their first baseman. They needed a right-handed bat. I think they have a really good team. I think the Red Sox are very good. I love their pitching. Their pitching is awesome. So I'm with you on the Red Sox being really good. The Orioles, I'm not really buying the Orioles. They're
trying.
I just don't. To me, like the fancy, like big splash in the offseason, that doesn't move me that much. I don't think Pete Alonso moves the needle for a team. But
much. I don't think they see. I don't look at them and say that they made like fancy, splashy signings outside of Alonso. Like I feel like they made good acquisitions. You could argue about the price that they paid for certain guys, but like I think Alonso being a right-handed anchor in that lineup is huge for them, and I think that they tried to address the pitching. They went out and got Helsley. They went out and got Shane Baz. They went out and got another starter that I can't remember right now. I think they could be a very good team too.
They got Taylor Ward, right? They added
Taylor Ward.
They traded Grayson.
Chris Bassett and Zach Eflin. They brought them in, so they're trying. And I don't look at those as like flashy signings. It was Alonso, who, for all of his flaws, he is a top 5 pure power hitter in baseball, and they needed a right-handed bat, so they went out and got it. And you can argue about the length of the contract and everything else, but like I have no reason to believe he's not going to hit 45 plus home runs next year in that park. So it's a wiffle ball park.
I think the Orioles they have a lot of players that are up and down, that are fine, that have some strengths, some weaknesses. They have very few players that are all around good players. Like I think outside of Gunnar, they don't have a single player that I look at and say, "Well, that guy's really good at pretty much everything." That guy,
but a lot of most teams don't have that.
Well, I think the Yankees have a lot of players that at least this player's good at this. This player, anyway. What? I don't buy the Orioles. I really don't buy the Orioles, and I don't buy the Rays.
The Rays are the Rays. They're going to probably not be awful, but probably not be good enough to do anything legitimate, and that's just what they are.
I do. What's going on here, my monitor? I don't know what's happening with my monitor. It's okay. I do think that I do agree with you that the Red Sox and Blue Jays are going to be very, very tough. Like I would not be surprised if the Blue Jays or the Red Sox won the AL East. I think they're both really good teams. Even though I think the Blue Jays are, I poked a lot of holes in the Blue Jays team, and I think they're very. I think the Blue Jays are very likely to be a team that are very vulnerable. They're very. I don't know what the word would be, but the chances of them, they're very susceptible. Thank you, dude. Thank you. They're very susceptible to being a 83, 84, 85 win team.
Maybe.
I think their ceiling is they can still win 90-something games. Whereas for the Yankees and the Red Sox, I'll include in this too, I think that floor is so much higher. I think the Yankees floor is high 80s, 88, 89.
Maybe, I don't know, but we just talked about, God forbid, Aaron Judge goes down, what becomes their floor. So
yeah, but if Vlad goes down, what's the Blue Jays floor?
You can make that argument for a lot of people. That's fair.
Red Sox lose Crochet. What's their floor?
True. No, I mean that's fair. I either way, I think back to it. I think you have 4 teams in the AL East that have a above 500 floor, and I think any one of those 4 could go out and win 95 games. And it'll just see who gets lucky with injuries, who gets lucky with BABIP, who gets what players take a rise. Does Jackson Holiday all of a sudden, is this the year that he does something for the Orioles? Is this the year that
maybe Adley bounces back? They need a lot of things to go right.
Yeah. So, but I think different levels, but I think there's enough volatility in all 4 teams that if any one of them wins the division and if any one of them is 4th in the division, I wouldn't be totally blown away. I think certain things are more likely than others, but I would not be.
Dude, come on. You would be very surprised if the Yankees were 4th in the AL East. Come on.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
I think it's very low on the possibility, like under 5%.
I think that's
if they simulated the season 100 times,
I think it would happen. If they get a couple of key injuries, then, and again, you can make that argument with everybody, but that's kind of my point, is all of them are close enough where I think any one of them could be 1 through 4 in any order with reasonable level of expectation.
How about compared to the AL as a whole? Who else? The Mariners?
Mariners are probably the other team. The Rangers?
Because the AL East is an amazing division.
Yeah.
Wait, what were you saying? What team?
I said the Rangers, maybe.
I think the Rangers have that ceiling, that upside.
Somebody who's going to be sneaky good, not to this level. The A's might be sneaky good this year.
The A's offense is going to be awesome.
Yeah, and
the lineup is really good.
They play in a minor league park.
But the pitching's a disaster.
Yeah, exactly.
The pitching's a disaster. They're going to get. They're going to have some fun games, though. I agree that offense is really good.
Yeah, their offense is actually a very good lineup somehow. But I think the other team is the Mariners, and then the Rangers. And outside of that, I kind of what I was until the AL Central proves otherwise, I can't really think about them. Maybe the Tigers. Can you throw the Tigers in there? I think
Tigers go into the Tigers go into the season as the favorite in the AL Central. I don't know. They added Framber. I don't. I think they're good, but I agree. I think they're better than the Orioles, by the way. But I think the AL East division is really, really tough. And outside of the AL East teams, I think it's really just the Mariners that you say, wow, that's the other team that's right there with the Yankees. Might be better than the Yankees. I think Texas, they have the upside where they could be, but I think you're looking at the AL East teams and the Mariners.
That's probably that's I would say the most likely scenario here.
All right, dude, I have some bold predictions. I sent you the breakdown? Did you have any time to think about a bold prediction, or do you want a hot take on certain players or anything about the team? You can make it up right now if you have one. I can go first if you need more time.
You go first.
All right, you can also not have one. No pressure. It's okay. All right, I have 3. The first one is Ben Rice will have the second highest weighted runs created plus on the team. We already talked about why I'm pretty high in Ben Rice.
Super bold. I don't think that's a crazy bold prediction, just because I don't think there's a ton of other candidates.
Stanton or Jazz would probably be
Stanton or Jazz are really the only 2 other options. Again, maybe I could Grisham.
Belly.
All of a sudden,
Belly.
I don't think he's not really a WRC plus kind of hitter.
Where did he finish last year on the team?
My guess would be 4th.
Let's see. Last year he finished. We're probably going to count guys who played. We have to have some sort of minimum. Stanton was 2nd. Caballero was actually 3rd. I wouldn't count that though. Yeah, Belly was behind Grisham, Rice, Jazz at 125. Yankees had a bunch of guys that had really
they had
good
118 as a team or something. 119 is it something crazy? All right, so Ben Rice, second highest WRC plus, plausible. I don't think it's necessarily a bold take, but I would love to see it.
All right, let's take it back. That one doesn't count. I agree with you. It's not that bold. Okay. This one you already talked about. I have this listed here. Jazz will go 40-40.
That was going to be mine, so I kind of wasted it earlier. But yeah, again, I think it's that would be. I would say that's bold because it's unlikely, but I don't think it's again out of the realm of possibilities. He's supremely talented.
Not many. It doesn't happen often.
That's what. Yeah, you don't see it often, but like he's got the exact skill set and plays in the exact right ballpark for it to be an option.
Dude, I have one thing to say. About Jazz. This is the complete opposite of what my bold take just was, that he'd go 40-40. The comments he made, I think it's great. He wants to be great. He wants to do this. He wants a big contract. He's learned a lot from Judge. Great. All that's terrific. I kind of get the sense that I could see him putting too much pressure on himself in a contract year and just completely being terrible this year. I'm kind of slightly concerned about it.
Also, not out of the realm of possibilities, but I would. I'd prefer somebody to be outspoken. He also doesn't strike me necessarily as that type of person because he just seems like he has like a natural confidence about him. I feel like
talking about a contract that you want, like to me, that's like you're really thinking about free agency, which is almost like you kind of put too much. In order to get that contract, he knows he has to have a great season.
Yeah, that's true.
I forgot what he said. He was 8 years at like 30.
It was like 8 for 250 or something. It was like
it's like the player he's been so far is not getting that. He'd have to have a career year by far.
Yeah,
to get that.
Yeah,
he knows that.
Yep.
That kind of makes me slightly concerned.
I share your slight concern. If I was picking what's more likely for him to be bad or to him to be really good, I'd say really good. But again, I think it's within the plausible outcomes that contract year doesn't agree with him. We've seen it with we saw it with Pete Alonso. We saw it with Glaber, weird example, but that's just one that's recent top of mind.
Yep, I agree.
It definitely happens.
Yep.
But you've seen the opposite too. You have seen the opposite too, where somebody in a contract year is supremely motivated and they go out and go crazy. So yeah.
Okay, this last one is for you.
It's happening. Here we go. Bold take.
That'd be awesome. This last one's for you, Greg. You ready?
I'm ready.
Anthony Volpe won't be the starting shortstop game 1 of the playoffs.
I fucking hope not.
That's a bold take, though, right? That's.
I would say that's bold just because of the Yankees as an organization, but not because of him as a player.
Because the Yankees don't want that to
because
happen.
anybody with eyeballs can tell you that is that's the right option. Other than the Yankees,
there's also one other reason why that's a bold take, in my opinion. They don't have like a great start. They don't have another option right now. I mean, Jose Caballero is a fine player. As you see him play every day, people that want him to be the starting shortstop all season are going to realize why he's not an everyday player, because
correct,
he's a very flawed player.
Yep.
You're not going to want Jose Caballero starting game 1 of the playoffs unless your only other option is Volpe.
Correct.
Yeah.
So hopefully
they're going to make a move.
Let's
They'll
go
bring
back.
someone else in.
Let's go back to the Texas Rangers. Hopefully they shit the bed. Corey Seager, bring him in.
That'd be awesome.
Not exactly
not ideal
defensive wizard.
Not a great fit. Yeah, and
a lefty.
He used to be. Yeah, he's declined, and he's a lefty, and he's older, and he has a big contract. There's a lot of things to not like about that. But in your let's go for it now, what are we doing? Like, yeah, that fits.
Get me Zach Neto.
I love Corey Seager.
Go get me Zach Neto.
If no pressure, you don't have to have a hot take or bold prediction if you don't have one.
No, I'll take credit for the Jazz 40-41.
The Jazz 40-41. Okay, I'm good with you. I'm good with that. All right, let's talk season win totals and playoff odds. So Fangraphs has the Yankees.
Let's back up one thing.
He has one. I don't even know if he has one.
I don't know if this is a bold prediction.
Do it.
Or anything. Because all I'm going to say is I think that. How do I phrase this? I think that come August and September, Jason Dominguez will be playing a key role on this team.
Wow. No, that is bold. That's a good one. Wow.
I don't know exactly what that means. I'm giving myself kind of an out, but
injuries. Let's talk about this for a second.
Injuries, trades, something. I think that he's going to rake in AAA. He is going to rake in AAA.
Agree. He is. I agree. He's going to be a terrible outfielder in AAA, but he's going to rake.
Yep.
I like that, dude. That's a great one. And I think there's very clear, obvious ways for him to get in, and it could be a number of different things. It could be an injury to Belly, Grisham, or Judge. It could be the most obvious one is Stanton, who will be on the IL for a month or two, maybe two stints at some points in the season.
It could be a trade.
Even if he doesn't have an...
Could Frank Grisham get traded?
I mean, probably not, but yeah, it could happen. I think
could he be traded mid-season for somebody that would theoretically be him playing a key role.
If he gets traded for a valuable piece, then he played his key role, and then he kind of got it right.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm hedging a little bit.
All right, I like it. No, I do like it. I can definitely see it. All right, that's a good one. Season win totals and playoff odds. Fangraphs these are all Fangraphs odds.
Mm-hmm.
People get really upset because like all these different sites have different odds, and it's like
and if you use betting odds, they're different.
It's just it's a projection,
and they're within a couple percent. They're within a couple basis points of each other.
So it has the Yankees win line at 86.5. Now, I've actually mentioned this to a couple Yankee fans recently, and they were like, "Oh, that's so low. That's crazy." The reason is because they have the AL East being all around that number. So, like in theory, if you have three teams that are between 86 and 88 wins, 85 and 88 wins, it's hard for one team to win 95, 96.
Yeah.
It's not impossible, but it's hard.
They're hopefully going to beat up on each other, and the Yankees aren't going to be the redheaded stepchild in that equation like they were last year. So,
what do you think, though? That if the Yankees won, if the Yankees had the under, that'd be extremely. There's no way, right? Like, you can't be okay with that.
No, that's a disaster.
I kind of agree with you. As much as I'm not like the disaster, this is a disaster, that kind of fan, and that's just not my thing. But I agree. This team can't win 86 games or less. That's crazy. This has to be if this team won under 90, I would be like, that's an extremely underwhelming season.
Yeah, and again, more so because if you are a team that's winning 87, 88 games, like realistically, what's your chances of doing anything? You might sneak into the playoffs as a wild card.
I agree.
Like you have very little to no chance of making an actual run at that point, unless the stars line up.
You're just one of these like fun little wild card teams. Oh, can
you're
they
the
get
AL
hot?
Central. You're the AL Central team at that point who just gets an invitation to the wild card round has to delay their trip to Mexico for a few days.
I agree. All right. Playoff odds at
I think 70%. Just one last. I think Pacoda has them like one or two higher than Fangraphs.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think they're going to win 95 games. That's my prediction. Would that have been a bold take?
Probably.
Playoff odds, Fangraphs has 70%. Again, I think that's low. Like 70%. Like maybe this is just being a Yankee fan and just spoiled. Like they missed the playoffs like what 3 times in my fandom. Like I think this roster is really good. I like this team. I think. I get the calculations on it.
I think it's an easy argument to make.
I think it's in my mind it's 90%.
Wow. I mean, we're talking about how good the AL East is going to be. Like that, you're going to have 4 AL East teams make the playoffs.
There's 3 wildcard teams. I don't think 4. I think it's going to be 3 at max. Okay. Again, I don't believe in the Orioles.
Yeah, fair. I hear you.
All right, division 31.8, so called 32% to win the division and 6.5 to win the World Series.
I know they're the slight betting favorites in the division. I think they're like plus 185 or something. Blue Jays are like plus 210, and Red Sox are like 230. So it's very close, but they are the slight betting favorites. I don't know what their projection. I don't know what the Fangraphs numbers are.
31. 31.8 to win the division makes you.
I would assume
you have to be. That's probably first in the division.
That's got to be the favorite. I'd be shocked if it's not. But I think to your point, you're going to have 3 teams that are, 20. They're going to be 31. The Blue Jays and Red Sox are going to be 20 to 25. So
it has the Yankees, Red Sox. It has the Yankees with the highest division odds, and it has the Red Sox and Blue Jays tied. So
okay.
So where does it have? So it has the Red Sox it has the Blue Jays at 23%, Red Sox at 22%, not tied. Sorry.
What are the Orioles?
Essentially tied, though.
15?
And the Orioles are 17%.
That's
raise 7%.
I guarantee you, without looking at every division, I guarantee you that 1 through 4 are not, 16% and above, all 4 of them.
You are 100% right. But the NL East, by the way, we don't want to make this an NL East podcast, but Mets 37%, Braves 36%, Phillies 30%.
Wow. Okay.
So that's the top 3 are all there.
I'm surprised, actually. I'm surprised the Mets are favored, or not necessarily favored, but have the highest projection. I would have expected the Braves, but
I actually consider the Phillies to be. Those 3 teams are all. 37% for the Mets seems pretty high. I don't really think highly of the Mets.
But yeah, I think the Yankees have a very good chance to win the division and make the playoffs. I think there's a world that they do neither. But I think that it's more likely than not that they make the playoffs, and I think that they're going to be right there for the division. I would not go as far as, mid to high 90s in wins. I think they're going to hover around 90 to 92. And then it's just a matter of, do you beat your division? Are you good in the division? I think that's what the division is going to come down to, because they're going to beat the shit out of terrible teams. They're going to probably be around 500 against the good teams, which is kind of the recipe for, 90 to 95 wins. And it's going to be, do you win whatever it was, half as many games against the Blue Jays again next year compared to how many times they beat you? And that, I think that's what the division's going to boil down to, is how they play heads up against the Blue Jays, the Orioles, and the Red Sox.
What's your best case scenario for the season and the playoffs, and worst case?
Best case scenario is everything that we said, could happen, does happen. All their pitching comes back, is great. Ben Rice takes a step. Trent Grisham repeats what he did last year. Stanton's healthy. Judge goes for fucking 60 again. McMahon is a semi-decent hitter. Volpe or Caballero does something at second base. Jazz goes 40-40. And they could win 100 games, and make a legitimate run to the World Series. I think that's best case. I think worst case is, again, the opposite end of the spectrum. A bunch of that stuff doesn't happen, and they're a 500 baseball team.
I think best case is very much what you said. They're 9,900 wins. Their pitching's the best rotation in baseball. They're a lot of those guys that they have, like Weathers and Heel, and maybe not Heel, Weathers and Warren and maybe Schmidt. I don't know, but they go to the back end of the bullpen. Legrand, am I pronouncing his name right?
Yeah, he looks so
good. Maybe he ends up in the pen. Bednar, Doval have good seasons.
I'd be shocked if he doesn't make an impact this year as well. In some capacity.
Okay. And I think the offense, Ben Rice is an elite hitter, and Stanton does kind of what he did last season, and Judge is has another incredibly historic season, and Jazz has the best year of his career, and McMahon's league average as a hitter, and Grisham is a solid hitter, and Bellinger is just a very good overall player, and Austin Wells at least is a league average hitter, and I think that that's a 100-win team, easy. And that's a team that goes into the playoffs as a clear favorite to go to the World Series. And I think in this best case dream scenario, I think the Yankees could beat the Dodgers If they go into the playoffs and go into the World Series with that kind of roster, obviously they'll add at the deadline. But the worst case scenario, I don't think it's nearly as bad as what you're suggesting. I think the floor for this team is a lot of the rotation stuff doesn't work out. Half of it, or 60 to 70% of it, doesn't work out. Cole, Rodon, Schmidt. And then you have more injuries on top of it with Schlittler or Fried or whatever it may be. Grisham goes back to being a bad hitter. The shortstop situation's awful. And then I think in that scenario, the Yankees are still an 85-win team, 84-win team.
I think that's the most likely floor, if that makes sense. But, again, if we're talking about worst case scenario and stuff,
by the way,
you can have
an 85-win team might get an 85-win team might get a third wild card spot. I think worst case scenario, they're last weekend of the season, they're fighting for a wild card spot. I think that's worst case scenario.
I agree to an extent. A lot of things would have to go terribly wrong for that not to be the case. But you could have one of those fluky seasons where you take cluster injuries to the starting pitchers and whatever else, and a couple key injuries to position players, and all of a sudden you're a 500 team. So again, that's very unlikely because a lot would have to go wrong for it to happen. But
a lot would have to go wrong. I agree. One more thing to that worst case scenario, out of all the things that I talked about that could go wrong, that would really bring this floor down, would be on top of all that going wrong, Judge gets hurt and misses a lot of time. Then you're talking about a bad team. Now the Yankees are drafting the top 10 next draft. But
maybe
they're not. All that's not going to happen. That's
what I'm saying. You're not theoretically, you're not going to have every worst case scenario pan out. You're not going to have every best case scenario pan out for each individual player. So you hope that you're on the upper end of that spectrum versus the low. The upper third versus the lower third. You hope that you fall somewhere in the upper third, and more things work out than don't, and the things that don't aren't complete abject disasters and are just not good.
Yep. All right. Well,
I got one more thing to touch on before we finish.
Yes.
ABS.
I was going to ask you. Okay.
And specific to the Yankee, I guess I'm curious to hear your thoughts on ABS as a whole, and then your thoughts on ABS. The impact ABS will have on the Yankees specifically.
I think it's great. I think you should. I think the system should be just 100% used. I don't think there should be a challenge with using ABS. I think ABS should just be the striking ball, the decider, determiner.
I get what you're saying.
But yeah,
I'm not fully against that.
I'm happy that this is a start. I think it's good for baseball. I think it's good to have important striking balls that are, especially the ones that are blatantly wrong, called or corrected. I think it'll be for Major League Baseball as a whole. I think we're going to see a lot of failed challenges at first. I think a lot of hitters and pitchers think that they know the strike zone so well, and when you realize, it's kind of like in the NBA, players are so sure that it was out on him, or I didn't foul him, challenge, and then their coaches don't challenge because their replay people are looking at it and be no, he did foul.
Yeah.
When you're in the heat of the moment, when you're in that emotion of it, it sort of blinds your perspective. There's exceptions. Juan Soto, would I trust his strike zone? Back in the day, would I trust Joey Votto's? Yeah. Judge, for the most part, yeah. But again, I don't think that the players know the strike zone as well as they think they do. So I think you're going to see, especially in the first couple of months, a lot of failed challenge attempts.
I agree with that. I think to that point, you're going to see teams either to start the year or very shortly after the start of the year essentially forbid their pitchers from challenging. Because pitchers can't see anything.
Who's going to do it? And the manager's going to do it? The catcher's going to do it? Who do you think?
When you're the defensive team, the only person who's going to challenge is the catcher. I think you're going to see that very quickly because the
center fielder.
Well, but the pitcher obviously they're going to want every call. They're going to think, every borderline call is a strike. But even more than that, like, they're moving while the ball is crossing the plate. Like, if you watch a pitcher, they're falling off to the first base side. Like, they can't fucking see anything. So I think very early on, you're going to see, like, pitchers are essentially, maybe with a few exceptions for, like, an elite guy, but for the most part, like, pitchers are not going to be allowed to challenge from, by the teams. But yeah, to your point, I think that it's going to be not necessarily elite hitters, but like hitters that have the correct skill set of, generally speaking, controlling the strike zone. So like Jazz maybe isn't the best guy to be challenging, but like Ben Rice, Aaron Judge, obviously, like those, they historically have a much better feel for the strike zone. Soto, to your point. So
do you think that there's some players that have like, I just sent him in the opposite way, like someone like Soto, someone like Judge. There's guys that have this reputation of such a great command of the strike zone that perhaps they get some calls. We know with Judge it's a little bit different because Judge gets a lot of called strikes low. Mm-hmm. He also gets the benefit of a lot of called balls high. So
interesting.
Yankee fans, Boone, no one really talks about that. They just complain about the low strikes calls he gets.
That's a good point. A really good point.
In general, forget about the player names. Just the guys that have great reputations of being hitters that command the strike zone, have great command of the strike zone. I think we might see those players getting more strike calls, losing an ABS, like the pitcher or the catcher, the opposing team challenges and says that was actually a strike. I think that's going to negatively impact some of those players that have that reputation, because I think they get the benefit of the doubt because of that reputation.
It's a really good point. It's something I haven't thought about. But yeah, I do think that's a really good point. The thing that I will say to that, two things I'll say to that. I think that could be, I would have thought that was going to have more of an impact like 10 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever it was. Like before the broadcast, every broadcast had this, strike zone or whatever that really is, because it's not a true strike zone, but
yeah, the box,
the visual aid of the box. Before that was put into play, I feel like I would be more on your side of the fence in that regard. But in watching the games every day, like I feel like it's kind of proven out that somebody like a Soto or an Aaron Judge is very good at controlling the zone and knowing where it is.
No, they definitely are.
And I agree. Even more so than that, I think to your point where like it could, I hadn't thought about this until you just brought it up. It could potentially change like a pitcher's approach to certain batters, at least early in the season. So my point with that is like, if they see that Aaron Judge gets a lot of high strike call or doesn't, when a pitcher throws a ball at the top of the zone, like they don't get that call a lot right now, but it's technically a strike. And Aaron Judge for 5, 8 years, whatever, 10 years has like built his eye level like slightly below where it should be. It's going to take an adjustment for him to build it up to where it needs to be. So like our pitcher's able to exploit something like that early in the season, or vice versa for somebody low, where when the true strike zone is actually implemented, it takes the hitters like time to adjust, okay, like where their eye level actually has to be. And do pitchers like target those areas that maybe is like a blind spot. Does that make sense?
I see what you're saying. And now the other thing is, you asked how do I envision it impacting the Yankees? I'm not sure, but I'd imagine the Yankees are going to be better at it than most teams.
I would agree with that. And they did a lot in spring training. They have been doing it a lot in spring training. So I think they were like, doing that on purpose, trying to kind of experiment, see who's good at it, see who's not, type of thing. And, maybe this is biased, but I do feel like generally, like that's something the Yankees seem to pride themselves on as a lineup and like an organization of like controlling the strike zone, tough at bats, not expanding the zone. So I like to think that they should be pretty good at that. And it'll be interesting to see, again, how it's implemented, who's allowed to do it. But I like to think that the Yankees will be, in the upper tier of the league.
They've been in the upper tier in the league on like challenge percentages over the last few years. Like they've been really good on challenges too.
I believe that's correct.
So I think I'm not going to look that up because it's not that big of a deal, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And I think with this kind of stuff, the Yankees are an elite organization at doing things like this to gain an advantage.
Yeah, I mean,
are you looking it up?
It's Baseball Savant actually has some great stuff on ABS. So they have the most won challenges so far in spring training, according to Baseball Savant stats, as a team. They've won 21. The Angels are 22. They're at 51%, which is up toward the top. It's not the highest, but they've challenged the most and they've won the most. But they're 50-50, 51%, which is like top 6 or something. That's batting. And then hitting, they are tied for second. They're at 57, fielding. They're much lower. They're like middle of the pack, or actually toward the bottom of the pack in win percentage when they are pitching.
Interesting.
But toward the top when they are hitting. So again, kind of what I expected, because I know in spring training, the pitchers have been doing it a lot, and I think that that's going to stop. I feel very strongly that pitchers will be essentially disallowed from challenging because they can't see, they're moving, they're going to think everything's a strike, and the catcher has
the much better view.
Yeah, the catcher has the best view of any single person to challenge, hitter, pitcher. Like they have a better view than the ump, because the ump is off to the side. Like, so I think the catcher is going to do it on defense, and then you'll have some hitters that are very good at it, some that aren't, and they'll kind of adjust as they go. But I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see it for sure.
That's a fun question. I like it. Any last thoughts on the Yankees 2026 season?
I hope a lot of what I said is wrong. Other than the Jets. I hope that we're doing another one of these, and I've been proven wrong with a lot of what I think. I'm very excited for the season to be here. It should be a good one. I think they have a chance to do something special and what we're looking for, and I just really want Judge to get a ring because he's so underappreciated for how unbelievably historically good he is, and he's kind of a victim of his own success. So he needs to get a ring while he's still Aaron Judge, and not a ceremonial ring toward the end of his career when he's a bench guy or something like that. So
I'll take that too.
Yeah, but it won't be the same. So that's what I'm hoping for. But I'm very excited for the season, and go Yankees.
I'm excited for the season too. Greg, thanks for joining. Everyone, if you're looking for our Phillies season preview, that is going to be up very shortly, within the next day or two. If it's not, depending on when you're listening to this, it might already be up on our YouTube and Spotify channels, and same for our Mets season preview. So me and Sistad did those two. So everyone, thanks for tuning in. Please give us a like. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew Sistad.